Today, we're going to talk about copyright rules. As you continue in your education and start creating content of your own, it's very important that you understand how to use information responsibly. The use of technology in our learning means that we need to know how to use information responsibly and ethically. There are a lot of sources online that you can use and a lot of information that is available. Knowing how to navigate that will help you in building your knowledge in an authentic and collaborative way. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand the ethical use of information, technology, and media, evaluate information for accuracy, validity, social and cultural context, and appropriateness for need. You will define what copyright, fair use, and public domain are, and the purpose of each. You will demonstrate knowledge of selecting images from a Creative Commons search. So what is copyright, and why do we need it? The intention of copyright is to protect people's creations and to ensure that they are given the proper credit for their work. If we didn't have copyright, there would be less incentive for people to share their innovations and creations because they would spend a lot of time and effort without getting paid. Many creators rely on their work for their living, or at least a part of it, so we want to make sure they get the credit they deserve. You also want to know that those same protections are guaranteed for you when you create a work. So let's talk about how copyright protects creators. If a creator makes a work in a fixed form, such as a book or a picture, that work is automatically protected by copyright. As such, the creator is guaranteed 6 exclusive rights for that work. They have the right to produce it. They may create a derivative work, such as turning a book into a play, translating a work into another language, or remixing previously released music. They may distribute copies of their work or give ownership to another person or business. They may also perform and display the work publicly, as well as perform it through the use of audio media, such as creating an audiobook out of the book they wrote. Copyright can be a very complicated concept to understand, especially if there's not common language and a set of vocabulary that is also known. It will be important to know and understand the terms copyright, fair use, public domain, and Creative Commons to fully grasp copyright. So first, let's define copyright. Copyright is defined as regulations that describe the manner in which an original work can be used and copied. These laws regulate the manner in which authors or artists can be reimbursed for the creative work. These works are known as creators' intellectual property. Copyright is a form of protection provided by the laws of the United States for original works of authorship. Copyright literally means the right to copy, but has come to refer to the body of rights granted by law to copyright owners for protection of their work. Copyright is an idea that has been around since the writing of the U.S. Constitution in 1787, and since has been updated many times to accommodate technological advances. As times and technologies change, so the guidelines for copyright must change as well. The Copyright Act of 1976 became the basis of what copyright law has become today. It has been amended several times, but the primary ideas are in the original act. This act addresses topics such as exclusive rights, what copyright can cover, terms of fair use, and how long items are protected. Examples of materials that are covered by copyright are literary works such as books, dramatic works such as plays, musical works, architectural, cartographic works such as maps, choreographic work, pantomimic works, pictorial, graphic, sculptural, and audiovisual works. Materials that are not covered by copyright include ideas, procedures, a process, title, principle, discovery, names, or listings of contents or ingredients. So now let's talk about fair use. Fair use is the exception to the copyright rule. It's a legal exemption to the exclusive rights of copyright holders, and it's determined on a case-by-case basis. You've probably seen fair use used in your classroom. Some criteria for fair use include the purpose and character of the use, including whether it is transformative, commercial, nonprofit, or educational. This includes the nature of the copyright work, the amount and substantiability of the portion to be used, as well as the effect upon the potential market for the copyrighted work. There are 2 main types of fair use. The first one is commentary and criticism. So, if you're commenting upon or critiquing a copyrighted work, this falls under fair use, and you can reproduce some of the work to achieve your purpose. An example of this would be a teacher copying a couple of paragraphs from a news article for use in the classroom with students. Another type of fair use would be a parody. A parody is a work that ridicules another, usually well-known work, by imitating it in a comic way. So an example that you've probably seen is taking a popular song and rewriting the lyrics to create a different comical song. What is the public domain? The public domain is commonly referred to as content that is not protected by copyright law. Works that are in the public domain can be used freely, and you don't need to obtain permission from or pay the copyright owner. Works that have been copyrighted in the past can eventually become part of the public domain, and we'll talk about a few examples on the next slide. There are three main types of works in the public domain. The first type is expired copyright. In the US, the copyright of a book expires 70 years after the death of the author. So an example of a work that is in the public domain because the copyright is expired would be works of William Shakespeare. Another type of work in the public domain are works produced by the US federal government. In the US, works that are produced by the federal government are public domain. So these would be official documents like the US Constitution. There are also works that are not properly copyrighted. Prior to March 1st of 1989, all published works had to have a mandatory copyright notice. So there are works that might not be properly copyrighted that are in the public domain. Now let's talk about copyright on the web. This is where you're going to have most of your interaction with copyright law. So one thing I really want you to remember is just because you found it online doesn't mean it's not protected by copyright. And in fact, in most cases, it is protected by copyright. Some rules to remember as you're looking for material online is to always assume that the material is copyright protected, whether you can find information on it or not. Check the terms and conditions. These will state whether you can use the material at all, whether you just need to cite your source, whether you can make changes to the material, or whether you can use it for commercial use. Whenever you're using something for personal use, it's best to ask permission, especially if you can't find the terms and conditions. And finally, always, always, always cite your sources. One place that you can find content to use is the Creative Commons. The Creative Commons is a nonprofit organization that provides free copyright licenses to content creators. A lot of times, these creators will not be able to afford to protect their content otherwise. The creators can add content to the commons and then set the terms for how their content can be used. Users like you can search the commons for free resources to use. It's important that you always check the terms set by the creators before using any of these resources. Now, the Creative Commons provides readable licenses. These are easy to use. They have a simple key for you to determine exactly what the terms are for the content that you find in the Creative Commons. There's multiple layers to these licenses. So, I have an example right here. This first one has this symbol, and it says by. This means attribution. All this means is that you need to credit the author or the creator of the content that you use. The next symbol stands for non-commercial. This means when you're using that content, not only do you have to credit the author, but you also cannot profit off of this content. You can't make money off of it. Finally, the last one is share alike. If you make any changes to this content, you would have to make sure that the new content you created, the changed work, would still be under the same protections. So that means you still can't make money off of it and you still have to credit the original creator. This next license right here has some similarities but also a lot of differences. First of all, it also has the attribution clause, so you do need to credit the author for a work that has this key. It does have the clause that says no derivatives. This means that you cannot make any changes to the content. However, it does not have the non-commercial clause, so you could use this content and make a profit off of it. Finally, let's talk about how to search the Creative Commons for content that you might use. When you go to this website, search.creativecommons.org, it will take you to this web page. When you're at this web page, you'll enter your search term, and then you'll click the website that you want to go to find the content. The Creative Commons search is not exactly a search engine. You don't enter your content and it gives you all of the content, but it links you to an outside source, and the items that it sends you to are all licensed under Creative Commons. So if you're looking for images, you can click Google Images or Flickr. If you're looking for audio, you can go to SoundCloud. If you're looking for video, you can go to YouTube. There's also clip art galleries and other options as well. You can also specify exactly what you're looking for. You can choose whether you want to use something for commercial use, and it will give you items that are not licensed as non-commercial. You can also choose if you want to change it. So then if it's licensed to where you can't change it, it won't show you those items. Once you enter your search terms and you search, it'll take you to the outside source where you can find your content there. And that's all of our copyright presentation. If you want to look further into copyright, here are the resources that we use. This will give you more information on copyright law. We have these resources here as well as here. Thank you.